All right, thank you very much for joining everyone. Once again, good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you're joining us from any part of the world, want to say big thank you for being a part of our broadcast today. All right, I'm very excited about what we're going to be talking about in this month. I believe there are 5 weeks, that we can really push out stuff in this month. And I really want to talk to you about your money. I want to talk to you about your finances. I want to talk to you about, the money that you're making from your business, or the money that you're making in your career, and how you can make the best of it as much as possible to achieve your dreams and to achieve your goals. Absolutely critical that we talk about this. And I don't think it's talked about enough. And I think that there are a lot of assumptions that people have when it comes to money and when it comes to making money, right? And it's very, very important that we clear out those assumptions to ensure that every single person is clear in their minds as to what exactly they need to do to achieve the kind of growth that they desire. So we've called this Achieving Financial Freedom. Today, I'm just going to give you an introduction. I'm going to share with you a few things and a few thoughts around financial freedom, why it is critical, why it is important. And then from next week, we're going to talk about the very first step and the very first thing that helps you to get into a place where you are financially free. And that's talking about your income. All right. So we're going to talk about that in practical terms from next week. Right. But today I want to talk about why and really establish some sort of a foundation for this that we're going to build on in the subsequent weeks. So achieving financial freedom. So let's get into this, right? The first thing I want to say to you is that achieving financial freedom should be an important metric for every single person. Achieving financial freedom should be very important for every single person. Please pay attention to me. If I don't know who you are, I don't know what you do, but no matter what you do, whatever it is that you do, if you don't have financial freedom, it's not going to be an exciting journey for you. Listen, we can be here and talk a lot about many things, right? We can talk about business, we can talk about all those things. The goal of business for many people, and I'm sure a lot of you are with me online today, the goal of business for many people is not to do business. The goal of business is to make money. So when you're not making money, the reality is this, that you are working against the very purpose for which you should not be working. In other words, you are creating a situation where you are in an unpleasant situation and things will not work for long. Let me tell you something. See, we can try to be noble about it, right? But you must understand that talking about money is critical, is absolutely crucial. If you don't talk about it, if you don't plan for it, it's not going to happen. Please read my lips and help me. Listen to me one more time, please. If you don't think about your financial freedom, it is not going to happen. I'm sorry if I'm a bearer of bad news, but if you are not planning about it and you are not strategic about your financial freedom, it is not going to happen. You can't be wishing that financial freedom will happen for you, right? You need to get to a place in your life where you don't need to struggle for money. And for you to get there, you must work towards it. It's not something that jumps on you, especially for those who are Christians. You believe that through a series of cataclysmic events that happen in your life, because you serve God and because you are a child of God, you just believe that all of a sudden things will work out. It doesn't work out that way. That's not the way it works. You have whatever works is worked at. I'll say that again. Whatever works is working because somebody's working at it. Nothing grows by accident. Anything that grows by accident is weed, and it's not something that you want. Anything that must grow is because somebody is working at it. So I want to encourage you today, please, over the next 5 weeks, please do not miss the conversations that we're going to be having at all. The reason why is that I'm going to be breaking this thing down in very practical terms, in ways that you can understand it for yourself. And listen, my goal is this, right? That I'm not just interested in the fact that you are doing business. The business that you are doing that is not making money is not, I'm not so sure that's the kind of, I want you to do business where you are making money and you are free, okay? So achieving financial freedom should be an important task for anyone. And let me tell you this, wealth is intangible. Wealth is an intangible goal. You can't wake up and say, I want to be wealthy, right? What does that mean? What's the definition of I want to be wealthy, right? And today I want to give you the definition of financial freedom, and this is the definition that I encourage every single person to have at the back of their minds, right? When you are talking about financial freedom and not having to suffer, not having to work, not having to put your family through a lot of stress, you must understand that life has gone beyond just you, especially when you are looking to start a family, especially when you come from a family. It is no longer just about you. It is critical that you work for yourself, make sure that you are not a burden to yourself, then make sure you are not a burden to other people. That's very, very important. The first thing is this, that you are not a burden to yourself, and then the second thing is that you are not a burden to other people. That is why financial freedom is important. So it's okay to say that I am vision driven. I don't think about money. All I think about is the vision. Let me tell you something. Even if you are that type of person, the money will frustrate your vision. I am telling you today, money will frustrate your vision. There are many vision driven people who are broke, and they've left the vision and they started chasing the money. You know many people like that. And I don't want you to be in that statistics. I don't want you to be in that number. So I'm really, really passionate about this. And my prayer this month is that something will break in your inside. Something will break in your spirit that will open you up to the fact that you need to take this thing a lot more seriously than many people are taking it today. And again, if you are Gen Z, if you are Gen Y, if you are, the generation where you are focused on, listen, let me not get ahead of myself. So, what is financial freedom, right? And there is a point that you get to where you know you are financially free. There is a point where you can pinpoint that from here, I'm not struggling with money anymore, right? And that's what I want to talk to you about. So what is financial freedom? This is my simple definition of financial freedom. Financial freedom is income from your investment is greater than your expenses. I'll say that again. The simple definition of financial freedom is this: that income from your investments is greater than your expenses. One more time. Income from your investments is greater than your expenses. That is the simple definition of financial freedom. In other words, if you are the kind of person that spends $100,000 every year, and your investment, let's assume you have investments worth $2 million, and you make 10% every year, you are wealthy, you are financially free. Why? Because the returns on your investments alone will far outweigh your expenses every year, meaning that you are now in a place where you don't need to work. In other words, you choose to work, not that you need to work. I don't know if I'm making sense. You choose to work not because you need to work, and that is very critical, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. All right, so please pay attention, and let's listen, and let's understand how this thing works, so that we can get the best value out of it. So what is financial freedom? It is income from your investment being greater than your expenses. Why is this important? Because first things first, the financial freedom is the reason why most of us got into business. Let's not lie about ourselves. Some people say, because I have a fantastic vision, I want to help people, I want to do all these kind of amazing things. Listen, all those things are wonderful, all those things are great, but let's not lie to ourselves. The reason why you and I got into business most times is because we want to be able to feed our families. It's because we need money. It's because we never want to be in a place where we are not working for money. Yes, you want to follow your passion, but nobody wants to follow passion that is hurting them. Nobody wants to follow passion that is costing them money. They want to follow passion that they can be benefiting from. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, right? Because your passion can frustrate you. I'll say that again. Your passion can frustrate you, whereby you get to a point where you're like, you know what, forget this passion thing. Let me just go and make money. So what I'm sharing with you is very, very important. Why is this important? It determines when you can retire. Listen, financial freedom determines if and when you can ever retire. There are people that you see, you and I know people in our lives, especially in the African continent, people who they are too tired to work, but they've not made enough money to help them and to take them out of a particular situation and put them in a better place. All right, so how do you achieve that financial freedom? That's what we want to talk about in this season. So financial freedom determines when you can retire or if you can retire. Right, it is the difference between having to work and wanting to work. Right, many of us want to be in a state where we want to work, not where we have to work. We want to work because we love what we do. We love event planning. We love baking cakes. We love doing all of that. We don't want to need to work. And that's why people look for rich spouses to marry, because they want to work. They don't want to need to work. So, and what happens is that when you are not able to rest and we are not able to retire, then you are trading time for money. And that is the worst place and the worst level that we can be. And we'll talk about all of this thing in the course of this month. We'll talk about that next month. The second reason why financial freedom conversation is very critical is that people are living longer than ever before. Listen, I want to ask you a question. The world, one of the biggest things that humanity is trying to conquer now is death. What that means is this, that people are living longer than they were before. In the 1800s, the average life expectancy of the average American was 35 years old. By the time they got to 1880, it became about 37 years old. In fact, the president of the United States became president. There was a president in the United States in 1921. He became president at 50 years old. He died at 57 while still in office, right? When the life expectancy then was 57.5. In 2019, life expectancy is now 78.9 years. By 2025, what do you think it will be? So here's the thing. What happens when you retire at 60 but die at 120? What are you going to do? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. What are you going to do? That's why this conversation is important. And this is happening. This is happening because we are developing more medicine that is helping people live longer. We are creating prosthetics and plastic body parts where people are enjoying their lives more. I saw a picture the other day of an 100-year-old lady that they were saying that this woman survived COVID in 2020. People are living longer than they used to before. What that means is this: retirement age self is getting higher. Because if you were retiring at 60, in fact, I don't know if you know this, in the UK there's no retirement age. You keep working until you can just keep working. So I'm saying so to you because if you don't start thinking about this now, you will get to a point where you can't work or you don't want to work again at 60, but you are still going to live till 100. What are you going to do for 40 years? How will you take care of yourself for 40 years? Because you remember that even your children at that time, they have their own issues and they have their own struggles. It will be unfair to now take your own burden and put it on them as well. So why is financial freedom conversation important? Right? Because people are living longer, right? And the reality is this, let me say this to you. You will spend more in your later years than you spend today. In other words, tomorrow is always more expensive than today. You will spend more if you say that on the average you live on personally, right? Let's say you live on 5 million naira a year. Right? That's how much you spend on yourself personally. The older you get, the more that money increases for two reasons. Number one, inflation. Number two, life. More things happen. So you have a double whammy, meaning that you are not just age. It's not that age is catching up with you. It's the fact that number one, inflation on the drugs you used to buy before, those drugs are now more expensive. Number two, you now need more drugs, because there are more sicknesses and ailments that are showing up in the people's body. So this conversation is critical. The next reason why it is important is no matter what your vision is, money will affect your vision. Let me tell you this. Money will affect your vision. When you see people doing things, you must ask them a question, right? If they had more money, what would they do? The next thing is this. The government doesn't really take care of anybody. Check all through history. The government doesn't really take care of people like that. They will try in terms of minimum, the basics, but the major things you need, government doesn't provide. The question is this: how will you survive in your later years? You must understand how to achieve financial freedom. Absolutely essential. Now, so let's get into this, and I'll close here. And the way I tagged this is I called it, what is your number? What is your number, right? You must, how do we begin to have a conversation around financial freedom? About 4 or 5 steps that we need to go through. Number one, you must determine what you want from your future. What kind of life do you want to live in your future? In other words, if you are the kind of person that today, right, and this thing can get a bit complex, so I want to say it slowly, but I want you to try and follow me as much as possible. I don't have all the time in the world. I'll share a few things and then we'll continue next week. You must determine what you want from your future. So let's give an example. If you say that $100,000 is enough for you to survive, every year, that's good. The question is this: how do you get $100,000 every single year for the next 40 years that you will live, for the next 50 years that you would live? That's the biggest question that we're trying to solve for. And I've said to you that financial freedom can be a number, and you need to know what your number is. So the first thing is this: determine what you want from your future. So let's assume I've looked at my life. My life is not extravagant. My life is not anything major, right? I'm going to, maybe you've said to yourself that I'm going to settle in my local country, in Africa or wherever I am, right? $100,000 every year will be just fine. That's fantastic. And I'm going to use the number 100,000 a lot as a safe way of talking about this and giving you examples. But you can put in your own figures and make it work for you. The next question to then ask yourself is, how much does it cost? So the first thing is, what kind of life do I want? Second thing is, how much does it cost to live that life today? So for example, the kind of life that you want, let's say you want to travel twice a year, you want to be able to take care of your kids, you want to do whatever, right? Your number every year is 100,000, right? That's the second thing. You've determined that the number every year is 100,000. Then the third thing is this: when will you need that amount of money? So today you don't have $100,000, maybe you only make $40,000. How do you get to a point where that is what you are making, right, every single year? These questions, we're going to try and answer them all throughout this month, right? But I'm just trying to set you up to understand the way to think about this, right? What must you have in investment to live at that point? So in other words, let me try and make this as simple as possible, right? You want to make, let's assume, $100,000 every single year, and you want to get to a point where you don't have to do any work, quote and unquote, physically to be able to get to that point. How do you get there? The way to get there, right, is to first of all establish what do you need. So if we've agreed that what we need is 100,000, and if I want 100,000 every year, on the assumption that every single year on my investments, I will make 8% every year. The equivalent of that 8% is now $100,000. What that means is that as a person, I must have in my investments about $1.5 million thereabout. Because if every year those investments will yield 8% return on investment, right, that means that if I have $1.5 million, right, in Naira, that's about over a billion, that's about $1 billion, right, or whatever it is, okay, then what I am saying is that this is my number, this is what I need to achieve the freedom that I am looking for. This is what I need to be able to do whatever it is that I need to do. The next question then becomes, how do I get there? How do I build my income to a point where I can make those investments so that I can be getting those returns that help me and sorts me out every single year? There are several ways to do this. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to start looking at that from next week, right? But there are several ways to do this. You can do real estate, you can do all sorts of investments. We're going to look into all those investments as well as, and we're going to look at what you should be doing in your business, right, to achieve what your number is. But listen, today I just wanted to lay a foundation. It is very, very essential, very, very critical that you take the conversation around you achieving financial freedom very seriously. If you don't, what will happen is that the tragedy will not just be on you, it will be on your children as well. And we don't want that to happen. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what is my number? So here's my assignment to you today. Figure out what your number is. A safe assumption, right? And again, I'm going to use that assumption all through the next couple of weeks, right? Is plan that personally, I want to make $100,000 every single year. And I'm using dollars, not your local currency, because, right? Dollar is a currency of exchange across the globe, right? And more people can relate with that, okay? But if you have no intention, for example, of living your life abroad and all those types of things, you can use your local currency. So for example, in my local currency, right, I can decide that 50 million naira is a safe place for me every single year. Where do I want to travel to that 50 million will not sort me out? What hospital bills can I have that 50 million will not be able to sort out every single year? Now, for me to make 50 million, how much must I have in investment so that gives me those types of returns every single year, right? And a safe percentage to use is about 7 to 8%. And the reason why is that there aren't that many investments that give you much more than that, right? So those are some of the things we'll be looking at and things we'll be discussing over the next couple of weeks, right? A lot of the things that I have said may sound like, it's all over the place, but relax, okay? I'm going to fix all of these things together over the next couple of weeks. But here's what I want you to do today. This is my assignment to you today. Everybody, please put it in the chat box, say assignment time, okay? I just want to know that you're with me, right? This is my assignment to you. What is your number? What is your number? I know my number. My number is based on what will take care of me, my children, the kind of school I want my children to go. I'm looking at when I want to retire, right? And how I want to be able to pay my children's school fees, etc. And then I will then start working backwards, okay? Now, what if you say you need 50 million today, but inflation catches up? Calm down. We will get there, okay? We will get there, okay? Just calm down. Don't rush, right? You don't rush these things. Don't rush. And the reason why I don't want to rush it is because I want you to understand. So every week I will try and give you one thought to take away with you, right? And thank you very much for putting in the assignment time, right? And this is the assignment. Please, everybody, please type it in the box. What is your number? What is your number? If it is $50,000, what is the equivalent of $50,000 in your local currency? If it is 100,000, what is it in my local currency today? $100,000 is about 74 million naira, right? If I'm making 74 million naira without working every year, that is fantastic. Do you understand what I'm saying? But in some other environments, 100,000 is nothing, right? Because by the time you go for one chemo treatment, right, that's everything is gone. Okay, so here's my question to you this week. What is your number? And the way you determine that number is, first and foremost, determine the kind of lifestyle that you want to live, right? Now, when you determine the kind of lifestyle that you want to live, right, what is the cost of that lifestyle? Please pay attention. What is the lifestyle that I want to live? Number two, what is the cost of that lifestyle today, right? Now, whatever that cost is today, convert it to dollars. So if I want the lifestyle I want to live, I need 50 million naira in my local currency, right? If I convert that to dollars, maybe that's about, my math is hazy, but let's say for sake of argument, that's about $75,000, right? That $75,000, right, is the number that I need to work towards. The reason why is that for most African countries, in comparison to the dollar, we're not doing so well. So let's use the dollar to benchmark it. Don't use your local currency. I will talk about that more next week, right? So because most things around you will be priced at that level, and things will go up to that level. So you just need to, but we'll get there. I don't want to push too much to you out in 1 week. I want you to take it easy. What is your number? And the way to determine your number is, what kind of life do I want? How much does it cost to live that life today? Okay, we're going to grow that in the future, but calm down. Okay, then whatever it is, it costs to live that life, divided by 0.07 or 0.08 or 0.075, divided by that. So if it is 50 million, divided by 0.0. So if I have a calculator here actually, so let me try and do the numbers very quickly, right? If what you need, oh sorry, my calculator just refused to work, right? But if what you need, right, is someone says, what is my assignment? Your assignment is to write down what your number is, because that's the number that we're working towards. This number is very important too. That's why I'm emphasizing it, right? I should have stopped this, but I'm taking the time to talk about your number. Once you determine what it is, put it in dollars. Once you have the number in dollars, right, write it down. Okay? Next week, we will now start discussing about how to achieve that number. Once you have the number, what I've said is divide that number by 0.07 or 0.08. In fact, to be safe, divide that number by 0.075. 0.075. Divide that number by 0.0. That whatever the answer you get is the amount we are looking for in investment in dollars. In dollars, not in naira, not in kwacha, not in your local currency, in dollars. Thank you very much for your time today. God bless you. All right. I hope it's been helpful for you. I'll see you next time.